Welcome. My name is Kelly.
And I'm Emma.
And this is Fanimated, an animation fan podcast where we get a chance to geek out about our favorite animated media. And this episode, it's all about the Dragon Prince.
Woohoo! My favorite. It's happening.
It's finally happening. We're talking about probably one of my absolute favorite currently airing Western animated shows.
Absolutely. And will be one of my favorite shows from now on. I mean, I've watched the thing like 6 times, so.
Yes, Emma is over here like a super fan and knows everything and is just, you are truly an elf over there.
I mean, thank you. I feel like this is a good follow-up to our classic series of like the Avatar, Avatar Last Airbender. Like, I mean, yes, same people, so obviously similar vibe, but like I feel like this is a great follow-up show that could be a classic for some people, but maybe that's just me.
I feel like it definitely has that potential, and it's going towards that potential, but it hasn't quite landed there for me yet as like a classic, like the Avatar Last Airbender has. But it has the potential, and there are still 4 seasons left. So yes. It has lots of room to do a lot of cool things.
Exactly. But It's got a good start.
It's got a great start, guys.
Yeah, why am I using the term good? It's amazing.
It's amazing.
That's why we're talking about it, because we love it.
Yes. So, of course, spoiler warning for the first 3 seasons of The Dragon Prince. That's all that has aired thus far. And we will be talking about all of it. So, spoiler warning now. But like as you said, the producers of The Dragon Prince are Aaron Ehasz and Justin Richmond. Ehasz was one of the head writers over at Avatar The Last Airbender and is often cited as the reason why some people don't like The Legend of Korra, because he didn't write on it.
Oh, interesting. Interesting, yeah.
Because he definitely brings a lot of, so much. I'm like, what do I talk about? His character writing, his like plot development, like
just the heart that he brings to it.
Aaron Ehasz just knows how to, I think, make things super cohesive, like all around, and really brings a lot of the heart that I think sometimes was missing in Korra. Mm-hmm. But he definitely brings it here.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. His full nerdy heart is very expressive in this series.
So, yes. This is just a collection of nerdy things all mixed together.
Absolutely.
It's so great. So, a quick synopsis, basic premise of The Dragon Prince, which is hard to do when I think about it, because there's a lot of lore and history in this show, which is part of why I think it's so fascinating and, definitely fits that Avatar Last Airbender vibe, because this is an entire world they're immersing you in, which is so fun. In this world, there are 6 primal elements.
Not to be confused with 4 elements.
Yes. Difference. It's different things.
It's totally different.
Different.
Trust us.
They're primal sources is what they are. They're the sources of all magic in this world. And they're the moon, the sun, the sky, the earth, the stars, and the ocean. So, we of course will have 7 seasons total. All of them are named after the primal sources, and then the 7th one will be the 7th secret primal source that will be revealed at the end of the series. Because let's be real, what they're missing is the one source that is collectively all of them at the same time. That's a very tropey thing usually, right? There's an avatar in the universe who controls all of them, or there's a demon slayer who controls all of the different types of breathing techniques. There's always something like that. So We will have to wait and see if that theory is correct.
Callum, maybe?
I mean, the boy already touched it into the sky arcanium. I think he can do just about anything now.
Yep, for sure.
So this world is split into two sections, the human world and Zadia, which is the magical world, because the humans started, they all lived together harmoniously, and then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Sorry, I had to.
Yes.
But what happened was some humans started using dark magic, which is, maybe that's the 7th season, dark magic. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
That would make sense. Dark magic is when humans who supposedly can't use magic because they aren't connected to an arcanium, they basically take the life force of magical creatures, magical beings, and uses that as their magic. So because of that, all of the, magical creatures were upset about that, and so they split the world into the human part and Zadia, which is all the magical people. So they're like, humans, stay away.
Darn humans.
Thus our story begins. There's even more history and things, but we're basically following two princes, Callum and Ezran, as they discover a dragon egg in the castle that everyone thought had been destroyed. And their new elf friend Rayla, who was there to assassinate them.
Oh, but they're friends now, so don't worry.
It's fine. They decide collectively to bring the dragon egg, the dragon prince, I should say, back to Zadia to, start resolving some long-held tension between the two worlds.
And the reason they come across the egg in the first place is because there were moon shadow elves plotting to assassinate the king, so they had to evacuate.
Exactly. Because, of course, the elves were going to kill the king because he's the one who killed the egg's dad, which was the king of all dragons, and kind of a big deal.
A very, very big deal.
And this brings our little trio and Bait
off. Oh, yeah, can't forget Bait.
Can't forget Bait. Off on their magical quest through all sorts of fun places and interesting people to start to reconcile the bloody history between all of these creatures. So there is so much to dive into.
That was very good, Kelly. Good job.
Thank you. I try to keep it succinct. Okay, so let's start with the best trio as Callum and Rayla, plus Bait. And I think I know who your favorite is, but tell us anyway.
What? For those of you who follow the podcast, you probably already know who my favorite character is by this point, but I will gladly share with you again once more because I cannot get enough of this character. Rayla is one of the three, plus Bait, of course, and she is a moon shadow elf. She is amazing and incredible and wonderful, and I love her. And so she is an elf who's like an assassin, and so she's a super like ninja warrior. Like her moves are crazy, and you're like, what? How do you exist? So she's an extremely amazing fighter. She's also got a Scottish accent, which who doesn't love that? Hit me up. And and she's also just extremely snarky and sarcastic and has the best commentary the whole time. She's really the strength of this trio, I think. Like, she really holds the group together and she's like a stronghold. She's very determined, and she sees the best in people even if she doesn't want to admit it. She's a softie on the inside. But anyway, I just love her so much, and I even made a list of my favorite quotes from her because I couldn't pass that opportunity up. But that's Rayla for you.
Absolutely. She definitely is the leader of the group. And she kind of brings Callum's crazy ideas to, just holds them accountable to reality a little bit. Like, here's the reason, and Callum is a bit of the chaos, you know?
Yeah, she's definitely the realist in the situation, and sometimes a bit of a pessimist.
Yes, she can be. That's true. But yeah, she is just a fighting BA, and you do not want to be on her bad side.
Oh, no, definitely not. Would you like to hear some of the quotes I selected?
Oh, absolutely.
Some of my favorite Rayla quotes, which of course I have to do in a Scottish accent. So
Please do.
Here goes something. Okay. First we've got, if you don't stop pestering me about this right now, I'm going to give you a big feeling on the side of your head. Quote number 1. Number 2. Hi, Nix. My name's Rayla. They call me Rayla. And I'm in a bad mood. Either you fly away now, or I'm going to use these blades to do something that's going to cheer me up.
I love that. I love that part.
And then, honestly, it's so short, but this one's probably my favorite. It's when Callum and Ez and Rayla are starting their journey together, and Callum has this cube that glows when he points it towards certain arcanums. And he's hovering it over Rayla back and forth, and the moon is lighting up, and he's going back and forth and back and forth. And finally she wakes up and is like, this does not end well for you.
Yes.
That is Rayla's personality in a nutshell.
Yes. She's no nonsense. She's going to do whatever she can to get what she wants.
Absolutely.
She's great.
Yes. And she has such a big heart, too. I mean, you see her grow through this journey as she starts as an assassin, but realizes, that's not something she wants to do. She, feels the need to create reconciliation, because once they find the egg, she's like, well, why are we fighting in the first place? I'm not going to continue this mission because this mission is purposeless if the dragon egg still exists. And so she just is very driven to do the right thing. And I really think that's awesome. Agreed.
So let's talk about Callum, the head in the clouds, artistic Callum.
Oh, Callum.
Oh, Callum. He, at the beginning of the show, has a primal stone, which he uses to do sky magic throughout, the first part. And so he is the mage of the group. And he is artistic, he draws a lot, and he just, as a prince, he doesn't feel like he has the skills that a prince should normally have. He's not very good at swordsmanship. He, has never really been good at any of the princely things. And then suddenly he discovers this, magic and doing magic, and he feels that's right, and that's something he wants to pursue. So, he's definitely a great big brother to Ez, He does have crazy wild ideas, and which is most of the time very beneficial. And yeah, throughout the series, he's trying to learn magic and eventually is able to connect to the Sky Arcanum himself, despite every single elf he comes across telling him otherwise. And yeah, I think he kind of grows in his confidence because of that as well. Mm-hmm. And he's very funny, definitely comedic member of the party.
What's cool about Callum is that he's on this journey with magic, and by the end of season 3, end of season 2, he's lost the primal stone. So it's a really big deal that he is able to connect to the Sky Arcanum without that source, without a resource, but rather just using himself and his breath. So that's really cool to see. Every time I see Callum, I honestly think of Merlin from the BBC's Merlin, because he's got his blue jacket and his red scarf.
Yes, he looks exactly the same.
So it's little Merlin,
Aww. Man, I love that show.
Oh, same girl. Also, I'd like to point out that Callum is voiced by Jack DeSena, and
Yes.
he voices Sokka in Avatar. So it's always lovely to hear him in action because he's just really comedic and great. I love his voice timing. It's excellent.
Absolutely. And it's one of the best moments when he sees Nyx's boomerang and is like, something so familiar. Boomerang?
Yes. And you're like, yes, the connection. I see it.
It's so good. I love
Only
it.
Atla fans would know.
But, Sokka and Callum are very different characters. I
Yes.
think they make that distinction really well. Because if anything, Rayla is the most like Sokka.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yes. Callum is a bit more almost Aang-like.
Yeah, because he's like on this journey of self-discovery. He's trying to prove himself and find where he belongs, and not necessarily to be like an all-powerful mage or to be the star of the show, but he just wants to prove to himself that he can do something skillful and that he can help people. And he's so sweet. Oh,
He's
such
so
a sweetheart.
sweet. He's great, guys. And I do apologize for all of this Avatar: The Last Airbender comparison, but that's going to continue because that's just, how our brains connect to the two so much.
Yes, absolutely.
And then finishing out our trio with Bait is Prince Ezran, who is Callum's half-brother, heir to the throne, and, as the seasons go on, the king of Katalis.
Yes. He is very young, but he is very smart, and he is very kind. He can talk to animals, which is a huge part that sets him apart from others. And it's really fascinating because he hasn't told a lot of people about it until they go on this journey, and he reveals it to his half-brother, Callum. I just want to point out that I really love the relationship between Callum and Ezran, and just how they care for each other and love each other as if they were related by blood. It just goes to show that it's not about blood, right? It's about like who you support and who you care about, and they're just so wonderful.
It's truly, truly wonderful whenever you see a well-represented sibling pair, because quite often it's so easy to make them enemies, or they frustrate each other, or just put them into tropes. But they really do support each other. They listen to each other. Callum is like such a good big brother to Ez, and it's great because like they both support each other, and Ez really is super mature, and he's kind of forced to mature quickly as the seasons go on because his father dies and he has to take up the throne, and that's a struggle for him. I love that. I honestly, of the trio, Ez is my favorite because he has to become king so young, and because he's suddenly thrust into this adult world and having to make very big decisions. And I feel for him, and I'm just like, you're gonna grow into the best king. So I'm just like, I'm proud of you, Ez. Also, Bait is his little glow toad frog thing, who is hilarious because he just is grumpy all the time.
Yes.
But loves Ez and is always there for Ez.
Bait is basically the grumpy cat of this universe.
Yes. Yes, he is. And I wouldn't want him any other way.
Nope.
But speaking of siblings, I want to talk about my favorite characters of this entire show. It's Claudia and Sorin, everybody.
Yes. I love them.
They are hilarious. Okay, Claudia and Sorin are the children of Viren, who is the main antagonist of the series. Claudia follows in her father's footsteps and is a dark mage, very talented, and very odd.
Yes.
She's the odd goth girl. It's great. And then Sorin is as one character puts it, the strapping young idiot.
I love Sorin.
He is the himbo of the series. He's big and brawny and has no brains whatsoever, and I love him.
Yes. He's got the biggest heart, though. Like, oh my gosh, he's precious.
The biggest heart. And here's why I love both of them so much. I love Sorin because ultimately, like, he knows what's right and wrong, and he comes to the decision to leave everything he's ever known, to betray his family, to do what is right and to help Ez. He takes his responsibilities to heart, being part of the Crown Guard, and is like, Ez is the king and I'm going to protect him, and also this is what's right. And he recognizes that his dad has fallen to some dark things and has changed, and he doesn't feel like he has to follow him anymore. And that, I'm just so proud of him because of that, and I'm so excited to see how he grows continuously through the seasons. And I love Claudia because, in the same respect, like, her story is really fascinating because, their parents separated when they were young, and she had to make a decision. She could either go with her mom or stay with her dad. And she hated having to choose. And then here is Sorin about to leave, saying you have to choose again. You have to choose between dad or me, kind of thing. And she can't do it. She can't choose and stays with her dad. And ultimately, spoiler alert, Viren dies at the end of season 3. But Claudia, being so distraught at her family falling apart and needing to have her family there, and she needs someone, she brings her father back to life, which is both amazing because she is that good of a dark mage, and also terrifying because she brought someone back from the dead. Right. That's probably one of the most jaw-dropping moments. I know it's right at very, very end of the season, but oof. Anyway, so I love Claudia. I love Sorin. I love season 1 when it's just them traveling, trying to find the princes, and they just bounce off each other so well. The comedy is gold because they're both just a little out there and weird, and so the humor is just spot on. I cannot explain how fantastic they are.
I love them too because they remind me of a realistic pair of siblings. Their banter and their commentary towards each other, their fart jokes and whatever it is they're throwing out there. I'm like, yes, this is a conversation between siblings. In fact, I have experienced this similar conversation, just, minus the magic and everything. But they definitely have that sibling rivalry of going back and forth and bantering, but at the end of the day, they also still love each other very much and want to support each other. Their relationship is so sweet, and that's why it's just so heart-wrenching when they are torn apart at the end, because Sorin, who, he's a bit of an idiot, but he finds the ability to choose what is right in the end, which surprises most of us because, yes, we expect characters to develop, but he is like a child in a man's body sometimes. And so you're like, wow, he is learning how to make the right choice. That's amazing. And so seeing him do that and grow is amazing. But then you have also having to see Claudia and him break apart because Claudia doesn't understand. I think she, at this point in the season, at the end of the show, she's in a very, very vulnerable place because, like you said, her family's falling apart, and that is her whole identity and source of control is just if her family is together, then her life is under control, and if it's not, then the world is chaos. So she is just at this point falling apart and willing to do anything. And it's terrifying because she is so quirky and fun and cute, and she means the best. She has the best intentions at mind, but she doesn't understand how it's affecting actual reality. And it's just a crazy dynamic because you're Claudia, I know you're a good person, but your actions are speaking otherwise because of your circumstances. And that actually applies to her father, too, which we can get into more. But I love these two. They're fantastic. And probably the main source of comedy.
Oh, for sure. They're hilarious. And, you know, all of that makes me wonder, too. I wonder if the reason she learned dark magic and pursued that was because of her dad and, like, wanting to do whatever, you know, he wanted, like, just keeping everyone together. Because, you know, I feel like, you know, she dismisses a lot of things about him just to keep on, you know, pretending like everything is fine. Like, she clearly sees the signs of him doing some, you know, going down the dark path, but, like, she lets him convince her, you know. It's like, yep. It wouldn't take, it shouldn't take much to have her, like, you know, take some action, but, like, just a little bit of reassurance is enough for her to be like, you're right, it's fine.
Yeah. She's living in denial.
Yeah, she's in denial. And two, like, during all of that, like, it's so easy for them to dismiss Sorin. Like, you know, it basically comes down to Sorin telling Claudia, oh, you know, Dad told me to kill the princes. And it only takes one word from Viren to be like, oh, you must have misunderstood me. For Claudia to not trust Sorin, you know, it ultimately comes down to, I'm going to trust my dad instead of my brother. And, you know, for him, it's like, oh, no one trusts me anymore either. So.
Yeah, because Viren has that kind of power over his own kids, too. Like, he is very manipulative and uses his words to get what he wants, even with his own children, which is really, really sad.
It is so sad. It's so sad. And I still hope that Claudia can have some redemption down the line.
I hope so, too, because she's so fun and great, and I know she means well, but, you know, it's taken her down a dark path.
Yeah. So let's talk about Viren, and
yes.
He's wild.
So wild. Oh, my goodness. Here's the thing about Viren. So he's basically the right-hand man to the king. And like Claudia, Viren has the best intentions at heart. He wants the best for the kingdom. He wants the best for Katalis and that, you know, families are safe and taken care of. He not only wants the king to be safe, but he wants wise decisions to be made. You know, taking care of their kingdom and then other kingdoms second, you know. So it's not that his intentions are bad, but with the use of dark magic and his words, he has a way of getting what he wants and persuading others to do so. Eventually, you know, people come against him because the king is dead. He has been killed. And, well, I'm pretty sure he's dead. More on that later.
Yeah.
But with him being out of the picture, there's less people to disagree with him. But then he comes up against the council and so on and so forth, and he still has people who are against him, and then he's being treated like a traitor, which, to be fair, he is. But the more he gets enraptured in this idea of being the one to create the change and being the one to protect the nation, the more greedy he gets and the more he is just swallowed in darkness and wanting power for himself instead of, like, the safety of the kingdom.
Yeah, it snowballs really quick for him. And, you know, there's this power vacuum and he just, like, wants to take it all, and isn't afraid to do some really terrible things to get there. And especially under the influence of his little bug friend, certainly continues to fall down the rabbit hole pretty quick.
Yes. As Viren is hiding away from the court, he stumbles upon, well, he's been studying this magic mirror that's been in the dragon's lair, and he can't seem to figure out what it does, but eventually he figures out the spell behind it, and he's introduced to Erebos, which is this elf inside the mirror, and his skin looks like stars, so I'm guessing he's part of the Star Arcanum group of elves. And so he is basically like, my best comparison honestly is like him being possessed almost. Like he's got a little demon attached to him, telling him what to do, doing different things for him in order for him to get more power, like, you know, sending out assassins with those shadows and things like that.
Erebos is clearly the overarching villain of this series. He's just using Viren as a puppet, and we still don't know anything about Erebos. Why was he trapped in the mirror? What is he trying to do? What's the history there? There's a whole series just under what is going on with Erebos, you know?
Yes. Which, oh my gosh, Erebos is one of those characters that both terrifies me and also intrigues me the most, because like you said, we know nothing about his intentions or his background, and he is just this mysterious character with this enticing voice that just grabs you in, which, by the way, he is voiced by Eric Dellums, who did Spirit of Ko in Avatar, so there's another Avatar comparison. But yeah, his voice just like sucks you in. And the other thing why I describe it like demon possession is because he starts off as a little bug in Viren's ear telling him what to do. But over time, he continues to get bigger and bigger. Like he's wrapped around Viren's neck like a shawl almost. And like he continues to grow. And by the end of the season, the last scene we see is like him in this cocoon growing even further. So very intriguing character, and I want to know more.
Yes, and I hope that mystery box of Erebos is worth it and is done well and is satisfying, you know, because it really is, for me, one of the biggest mysteries and most attention grabbing things about the show and the plot so far is what is going on with Erebos. And so I just want that to be worth it. I want it to be a good, satisfying reveal, you know?
You know what the nerd in me wants to do?
What?
Remember those scenes where Viren went to the library to look up Erebos and you get a quick glimpse of the page that he was looking at? Part of me wants to like go back and screenshot and see if I can recover any of the words.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure people have.
Yeah.
You should.
Like, is there anything that we can find?
We'll become super sleuths.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, man. Ooh, it makes me all excited about what's going to happen.
I know. It's crazy.
Well, there are so many characters in this series, so many people that they come in contact with on their journey, that we can't go through all of them. But
unfortunately,
what are a couple of your other favorites?
Thank you for asking. I was like, we got to do some honorable mentions.
For sure.
Okay. This is going to be hard, but
I know.
One of my favorite characters is Commander Gren.
Yes, I was hoping you'd say that.
He is a beautiful redhead, freckles and all. He is so sweet. What I love about him, okay, so he is like commander under General Amaya, and Amaya is a BA woman. She's amazing, incredible fighter. This is the prince's aunt, and she's awesome. She's also deaf, so Commander Gren is always signing to interpret for others. So he is constantly interpreting with his hands, and he's constantly by her side, and he's just so sweet. He's so freaking sweet. He's too good for this world. Like, Viren freaking chains him up, okay? He's locked in a dungeon, and for no reason, basically. And Viren's just like, how can you be so cheerful? And he's like, well, I see it this way. Why see yourself chained down when you can be chained up?
Yes, he is the unapologetically optimistic character, and I love him.
Yes, he is so lovely. So I had to mention him.
Good. I'm glad you did. He is great. I totally ship him and Amaya. I want them to be together forever.
Okay, literally when they reunited after he thought she was dead, like, she picks him up and twirls him in a circle, and he is crying. So I'm like, yes,
so cute.
please.
And I wish I knew sign language because they talk a little bit in sign language without interpreting it like verbally. And so I want to know what they said to each other. I bet it was cute.
I know. There was one that I did pick up where, so Callum had been reunited with Amaya, and this is when Rayla was on their side, and they explained to it and everything. And this was when Callum and Rayla were a thing, and he's like, "Oh no, it's okay." Like, he's saying things, but with his hands, he's signing the word girlfriend. That's the one thing I caught, and I was like, "Oh, cute." So that's the other thing. But yes, I agree. I would love to know the other conversations going on.
Yes, I loved it. And let me just say that General Amaya is one of my other favorite characters I wanted to talk about, because she is incredible. Like, truly an amazing general, like, cares so much for her people and cares so much about her nephews and is like, just goes out of her way to help them and is just a shining light in the midst of all this craziness. Like, she you know, she gets captured by the sun elves and like has this other crazy side adventure, you know, and it's just, this is a good, kind, powerful, strong parental figure that these two boys have, you know, that isn't falling to pieces and or dead.
Yes.
So I appreciate her immensely.
Agreed. Okay, I just have to do a little shout out. Maybe I won't talk forever about this, but I have to do a little shout out to the Crowmaster.
Oh, just good. I hoped we talk about him.
See, he's just the classic intern. Like, yes. I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, the Crow Lord isn't here, but I could, like, you know, take that message for you or whatever. Like, he's just, you know, kind of like, well, I wouldn't say like goth kid but he's got like his gauges and his dark hair and like whatnot. But he's just like the cute intern that's just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but like I'm super intimidated by everything. And
the Crow Lord is never there.
Right, exactly. And it's like, would you rate our how would you rate our service today?
Like, he's clearly the customer service kid who doesn't really want to be there but has to do everything he's told. Oh my gosh, it's great.
So I had to give a little shout out to him.
I want to give a quick shout out to Corvus.
Yes, Corvus, so good. I was specifically requested.
Yes. He really becomes Ez's advisor when Ez becomes king, and you know, at first Corvus was just this super crazy talented like scout who was trying to capture the princes, not capture them, but like, you know,
retrieve them,
bring them back home safely, you know, because everyone thought Rayla kidnapped them. But then he turns into this like really great character who is like clearly Ez's like right hand man and is just amazing, and I love him. He's great.
Yes, he's also kind of like a bodyguard. Like, he just has his Ezran's best interest in mind, and he will do crazy things for this kid. Like when the dragon prince himself, Zem, was needing to learn how to fly, Ez was having a connection with him, and he's like, gets on the shoulders of Corvus so Corvus can run around and he can pretend to be flying, and it's great.
It's so good. I love that scene so much. Speaking of, the other character we can't not mention is Ozymandias. I mean, yes, it's called kind of the Dragon Prince. I think we should talk about Zem.
Yes. Well, Zem is just adorable. He's this cute little blue dragon who has zappy thunder lightning powers, and he's just super cute.
Jack DeCina also voices Zem.
What?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Oh my gosh, this is excellent.
Well, he does bait too. You're welcome for that little tidbit of information.
I wish he would do like a short film with just his own voices, please. That would be great.
Yes, please, please, please. I love that. I love that. Anyway, I just love Zem. He's super cute. Ez and Zim are like the best of buddies. They have a connection. Like, Ez can actually like see through Zim's eyes. Like, I don't know what's happening, but it's amazing. And it's also like this beautiful like picture of reconciliation, right? Because one's dad killed the other's dad, and now they're best of friends, and they're gonna make the future bright together.
Yeah. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. Any other? There's so many good characters. Any others you want to quick mention?
I mean, I love Captain Valads. He's great. You know, the blinded pirate.
Yes. So
he's wonderful.
Good. Gives the best advice.
Gives the best wisdom, and is great with the comedic commentary. And also, he has narcolepsy.
Yes.
He has narcolepsy. And it's hilarious when he just starts sleeping out of nowhere.
I also love Lou Jane.
Lou Jane.
Who's the hippie
Fabulous.
moon elf who like protects the moon place and is absolutely hilarious and is like honestly just wants to be alone, and then all these kids are like invading her space and she's like great,
this is fine.
They're all gone now.
This is
finally.
fine.
She's very loony and great. So clearly, already with 3 seasons, we've got lots of characters, we've got lots of episodes, we have tons of plot already happening. We can't talk about every little detail. So we're going to talk about our favorite episodes. I really only wrote down 2, but honestly, like the whole show, let's be real. So how many do you have, Emma?
Okay, so I selected 1 for each season.
Great. Then let me quick choose one for season 1, and then I will also have one for each season. So why don't you start us off with your favorite episode of season 1?
Okay, so my favorite episode of season 1 was a hard pick because, you know, it's the beginning of it all, and you're getting all of the intros to all the characters in the beginning, so it was very hard for me to pick one. But I really do love the last episode, episode 9, which is called Wonderstorm. And the reason why I like this is because we've got our trio plus Bait, and and also we've got an extra friend and her wolf along the way, and they're climbing up the cursed caldera to get Zem, who is an egg at this time, to this miracle healer because the egg has been dropped in the water and the egg is fading, like the glow is dimming down, so they need to get him up the mountain. And it's great because well, not so great, but as they're journeying up this mountain, they're facing like all these creatures, and they come across this leech, which is crazy and attacking them. And Callum comes up with the crazy plans, of course, which is called Flash, Bark, Zap, Slish, Slash. And so what that means is that Bait flashes his light, and then the girl and her dog bark around, and then Callum does a spell, and then Rayla does her Slish, Slash, and then she's like, no way, this is my slishing hand. But anyway,
I love that.
So I create this crazy plan, and then it completely falls flat. And then after it falls flat, though, we have a moment where Callum and the young girl, her name escapes me right now.
Alice?
Yes. Callum and Ellis have a moment on a mountaintop together, whereas Ez and Rayla have a moment in the tree together. And it's really just sweet as they're like, both Callum and Rayla are having talks with these 2 children. Like they're like, the 2 children are being the mentors in these conversations, which is super cute. And they're both talking about how they feel like they're not good enough, or that they're kind of dealing with some identity issues. So it's a really intriguing moment, and I think it's very sweet too, especially since it opens up our characters to some vulnerability and allows them to grow closer together. And then after that, they do the plan again, and it is successful the second time. And then they meet Lou Jane, and I just think that's a fun episode because of those moments between the pairs of characters, and just finally, you know, reaching the point of one of their mini quests.
I love that. I agree. That's such a good episode. It's so sweet. I think for season 1, my favorite episode is going to be episode 4, Bloodthirsty. This is when Viren is appointing himself as Lord Protector. He is, starting the chaos that will continue for the next 3 seasons. And more importantly, our trio plus Bait arrives at the Winter Lodge, and this is when Aunt Amaya comes in, and
Yes.
it's just a fun episode where they're trying to, Callum and Ez are trying to pretend everything is okay while Rayla is like hiding in the lodge and trying to sneak around. There are a lot of really fun moments, and also it kind of brings out some important problems between the 3 of them, because at the end, throughout the episode really, and then at the end, like, instead of telling their Aunt Amaya, who of all people would try to understand about how Rayla is their friend and how they're trying to bring the dragon egg back to Zadia, instead they decide not to trust her with that information, but instead tell their Aunt Amaya that Rayla is kidnapping them, and they like use that as a way to escape. And that really hurts Rayla, and for good reason, because she's like, what, do you think I'm a monster? Like, because it's clear that these princes have grown up thinking that elves are monsters, and so they're just playing into that story instead of just being honest with their aunt, and it just brings about a lot of other conflict. So that would be my favorite episode of season 1.
I do love that episode a lot, especially since Amaya brings a letter from the king, and it says, "The boys may wish to build a dirt man. We do not wish to build a dirt man."
Oh, yes, that's so good.
Or like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and then they've got this super stale bread.
Yes. Yes.
I love that episode.
So good. So good.
All right, so as for season 2, my favorite episode is also the last episode again, episode 9, which is Breathe. And it's a really trippy episode, but I just loved it a lot. So this is, after Callum has just performed dark magic for the first time, he was trying to save Rayla as she was trying to save a dragon. So in the midst of all that, he used dark magic for the first time. And so he's kind of having like a weird moment take over him. He's like passed out, and he's like having all these visions and a self journey of sorts, and he's sickly looking. And anyway, so in the midst of all of this, he's having all these visions of like his dark self trying to tell him, hey, you need to pursue dark magic because you'll have all this power and be able to do whatever you want. And like there's just, he's fighting himself basically in all these visions. And eventually he gets to a point where he's sitting with his mom, and she tells him to just breathe. And as he learns to just breathe, then he finally is able to wake up, and then he understands the Sky Arcanum, which is huge because at this point he no longer has a primal stone, so he can't do magic on his own. But now that he understands the Sky Arcanum, he takes deep breaths, and then he performs the spell. So it's just really, I think, a fascinating, fun episode. I also love it because Rayla at first is super mad at Callum because she's like, oh, you idiot for like doing dark magic. You shouldn't have done this. But then like while he's struggling in his sleep, she's like, don't leave me. Like, I have to tell you something. And she's like, you're like, oh my gosh, Rayla's falling for Callum. What? And so anyway, It's just like a really cute moment. So when he finally wakes up, she's just like, oh, hello. Like I wasn't saying anything. What? So I just really like that episode.
That is also my favorite episode of season 2, which is also because that's when Ez realizes that his father is dead, and he goes off and actually runs into Claudia, and the two of them have a private conversation, which I love because it's both Claudia and Ez at this like crossroads, right? And Ez decides to take a very mature route to take over his responsibility. He's like, I have to go. Like, this has been my journey to bring Zim back, and now I need to go back and be king. And Claudia decides to take the path to use dark magic to revive Sorin. Sorin is bedridden at this point, and Claudia decides that she's going to do whatever it takes. Again, foreshadowing her bringing Viren back to life. She revives Sorin's nervous system and is able to heal him. But at what cost? So,
Yep.
that's definitely my favorite episode as well. But in order to also talk about one other, I'm just going to mention episode 6 of season 2, Heart of a Titan. Because in this episode, we get the mirrored stories. Both Viren and King Harrow basically are telling the stories of how Sarai, Callum and Ez's mother, died, and how it was because of the King of the Dragons, and how that all happened. So, which is the catalyst for this whole war continuing in the first place. And from Viren's perspective, he's telling this story in order to get the other kings and queens of the other kingdoms to unite and fight against Zadia and continue the violence. And from King Harrow's letter that Callum is reading, King Harrow says to look at history from the perspective of love, and to not continue down the same paths. So you see the same story being told from two different perspectives for two different reasons. And I think that's really, really beautiful.
Yeah. That's a good one. I really love that episode as well. And also, it's just good to see Callum have this last moment with his father's words. Like this, this cycle of grief that he's experiencing, and just allowing it to fill him. Okay. Season 3. That was a hard one because, to be honest, season 3 is like my favorite.
Me too. Oh my goodness. Season 3 is the best season so far.
It is so good. Like, the first season is great because of all the introductions, but season 3, you're just like go and go and go, and there's so much happening, and you're being introduced to the world of Zadia, so it's just incredible. Okay, and part of me wanted to pick the last episode, but my favorite episode was episode 5, Heroes and Masterminds. And technically the episode before that, because it's leading into it. But basically, Callum and Zim and Rayla are using the help of Nyx, a sky elf. And they are going across the desert because it'll shorten their trip. And along the way, they stop in an oasis, which provides for some opportunity for Rayla to let out some anger that she's been dealing with. She's struggling because her tribe of elves has rejected her because they think that she abandoned the mission, which she technically did, but it was for a good reason. It wasn't like she was leaving behind her comrades. But anyway, so she's feeling rejected, and like her parents, were the Dragon Guard, and they failed in their mission. So she's just feeling the weight of it all. And this allows for a moment for Callum and Rayla to just process together, but she's like being pretty stubborn about it and not wanting his help. But they have a great connection moment and also a disconnection moment because she kisses Callum and he's like, wait, what? So it's like,
poor Callum.
Poor Callum. Poor Rayla. But anyway, it's a great... so we've got that going on. But then Nyx has an ulterior motive, and she's continuing to cross the desert behind their back with Zim. So going after them, at nighttime, there's all these soul serpents that they have to watch out for. And Nyx is suddenly in trouble, and Rayla ends up saving her. And they continue riding in the desert together. And I love the moment when they're on this, huge animal. It's like a camel. And like Nyx is like, why did you save me? Like, is it because I'm so charming? And she's like, no, I definitely don't like you. But Callum, stands up for her and is just like, because Rayla's a hero. Like, saving people is what she does. And like, he really just affirms her in her identity, because this whole last few days, so to speak, she has been struggling with who she is. in that she feels like she is worthless, that she has just failed people. But Callum in that moment reminds her of like the good heart she has, and even if she doesn't like somebody, she still saves them because it's the right thing to do, and she just has a bigger heart than she realizes. So it's just a really beautiful moment where he affirms her, and then they share a kiss, and this time both of them like want it on both sides. So it's really cute. And I love them so much. And you've been seeing the chemistry grow after the past few seasons, and it's just so cute when it all comes together in this moonlit moment.
Oh, it's so great. It's so wonderful. I love them. I love how natural their chemistry is, and it grows throughout the seasons, and you're just like, yes, this is perfect and beautiful, and I love them.
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. It's natural. Like they're just looking out for each other and working together constantly, and it's never like a flirty banter. It's just like, oh, we're friends, but we love each other. So I really like it.
I mean, it's so natural that it wasn't even intentionally written that way until later, and then they realized, oh, they like each other. That wasn't their intention going into the series, but it's what happened.
Right. At the beginning, we all thought it was like Callum was pining after Claudia, and they did have like a moment where we thought, ooh, this might be a thing, but then the more he journeyed with Rayla, I was just like, oh no, this is what's meant to be. The Dragon Queen must never know. They're so freaking cute. Great.
My favorite is when Ez finds out.
Yes! I was just going to say that.
Because they kiss, because they're about to die, and then they live, and they're so happy, and they kiss, and then Ez is there, and you just see his face. It's like, what?
That wasn't part of the spell. Oh, you were gone for a while, and this is a thing.
Oh, it's so cute.
And Bait also reacts that way.
All right. So since you didn't take it, I'm taking episode 9, the final battle.
Good.
Because this is it. Oh, this show is so epic, okay?
Yes.
You're watching all of this conflict come to a climax, and it's real, and it's like epic and crazy, and it's the final battle, and you're just so excited when like the other armies come as backup, and the dragons fly in, and it's just like, it's a ride, and I love it. And then, I mean, you've got Callum being able to form wings, like he's able to finally do that spell. Like, I know it's cheesy, but I'm all for it. Like, Rayla like pushes Viren off the spire, and Callum jumps after her and saves her. I'm just like, I'm all about the cheese, and I'm here, and I love it.
Yes, no, it's so good. Oh, I love that moment where he's like, Rayla, and he like is crying over the cliff, and he's like, okay, and then he jumps off. Like, oh my gosh, so precious. And then it's his love that sprouts his wings, so
it's so
adorable.
Cute. So I'm all for it. And then, of course, like I said previously, we also get the big cliffhanger ending with Claudia reviving Viren and seeing Erebos turn into a big cocoon, and who knows what will spring forth. So it's just, and we also get Zim's mom waking up, and Zim is here with his mom, and there's hope, and the Queen of the Dragons is like, oh, look at all these humans and elves together, and all this stuff, and it's very hopeful, and it makes me really excited to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah. I also love in that episode, we have the moment of division between Sorin and Claudia, where, like, Claudia makes a vision, or like a magic...
How did I forget about this?
A magic illusion of Viren, and Viren's about to kill Ez, but Sorin stops him by killing him, and then it turns out to be fake. But Claudia feels so betrayed by Sorin doing this, and that just rips them apart. Even though Sorin was doing the right thing, Claudia's view is so twisted at this point that that thought destroys her.
Well, I mean, even Sorin is shocked by it and is in pieces because of it. Because, like, he thought he just killed his father. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy. And like he's gonna protect Ez. That's his duty, and that's what he believes in. But ouch, that hurt both of them a lot. Both Claudia and Sorin a lot.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But you know, Ez was going after Claudia. Like, I don't know. I feel like Ez and Claudia have had so many connections that, and Ez has so much patience and understanding that maybe Ez will help her out of whatever path she's on.
Yeah, it is curious that, you know, Viren was trying to kill Ezran and Claudia didn't try to stop him because Claudia's had those connecting moments with Ezran. Maybe for her, she was just like, well, I have to do, like, what my dad wants because he knows what's best. I don't know if that was in her mind, but I was like, wow. Like, I feel like Claudia and Ez had a lot of connecting points, and I'm surprised that she would even be okay with her dad taking his life.
I know. I wonder that as well.
Insane. This show is so epic.
It's such a crazy episode. And with the phenomenal season finale of season 3, we are left with so many questions and so much yet to come with a confirmed 4 seasons coming.
4 seasons, people. 4
seasons of 9 episodes each, just like the others. First question, what do you want to happen? What do you want to see?
Well, Kelly, you know me. I'm a romantic.
I know you are. I know.
So, of course, I want to see more of Callum and Rayla because they're adorable.
Yes.
So that's kind of a priority. But I would really love to see even more lore, especially with Erebos, because he is such a mystery. And it's frightening how much we don't know about him because of how powerful he is. So I really want to know, what is he exactly? Is he just a star elf, or is he something bigger than that? Like, what is it about him that has caused him to be trapped in a mirror for thousands of years and kept in the lair of the Dragon King? Like, what is it about him? He's obviously been manipulating people for centuries if he's in a mirror, but what does that look like? Was the Dragon King affected by Erebos when it was in his lair? Did he do some evil things that we don't know about? I have no idea. I just want to know more about who Erebos is. Also, so as a gift, my dad sent me the graphic novel, The Dragon Prince, that has been created, called Through the Moon. It's the only one I know of so far that they've created. But in this graphic novel, it's just a little side story, but it's the whole the whole book. Rayla is continually talking with Callum and is like, I don't feel right about Viren. Like, I know he like fell off the cliff, but we never found the body. Like, I don't feel good about the fact that he's really dead. And Callum's trying to put her at ease and let her know, like, hey, it's okay. And by the end of the book, it ends with the cliffhanger of her leaving the group to go find Viren because she wants to make sure he's really dead. So I'm really intrigued with that graphic novel out there, how that will tie into the seasons coming up, if they are going to use that plot. And if so, like, where does that leave us? Where's the story going to start? Basically, are they going to include that little arc in the show, or is that something that is only outside the show? I'm really curious to see where they will start, especially if Rayla goes off on her own to try and find Viren. So those are some things that I'm really looking forward to.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. I want to know so much more about Erebos. I want to know if there are other star elves, or maybe he's like one of the last ones or something.
Yeah.
2 things I really, really want to see. One is I'm excited to see Ez as a more established king. What kind of kingdom has he created since the end of season 3? And two, I just want to see more of this world. I want to see not only more of Zadia, because obviously we want to see the magic and cool stuff, but also let's travel to one of the other human kingdoms, you know? Like, let's see what the rest of this world looks like, because that would be really, really cool. They do such a good job with their world building and just how creative and vibrant it is. You just can really, it really feels like there's this history that's been there hundreds and thousands of years, and I just want to see more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Though I do really want to see an Earthblood elf. That would be pretty cool. Or an ocean elf. You know,
yes.
See all the different...
Well, the next season, I think, should be called Earth, so might be seeing some Earthblood elves.
That would be cool. All me best friends are trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm also interested to see if we will see King Harrow's bird return, because we saw the bird released, and I'm hoping that he'll come back and be Ezran's friend. What do you think, Kelly?
Yes. Okay, so you've opened the door. Here we go. I'm walking through the door. Listen, everybody. From the very beginning to 2018, when this show started, listen, I've got this theory, and I think I don't know what's going on, but listen. Viren tells King Harrow, I can save you from the assassins from this everything by using these snakes that's going to transfer your soul and someone else's soul and switch them. And we see Viren and Harrow have a fight, and then Viren leaves. We see Viren exit the room. We never see Harrow again. Harrow dies. His body at least dies. I, for the longest time, had this theory that, of course, Viren just switched King Harrow's soul with his bird, with the soul of his bird, and now King Harrow lives in the bird. And I was like, and as soon as we found out that Ez could talk to animals, I was like, great, theory confirmed. Harrow is in a bird, and now Ez is going to be able to talk to his dad as a bird. Guys, how could that not be the truth? Listen, that's just my theory. It's been denied by the writers, but of course they're going to deny it because they don't want to spoil it for you. Listen, it might actually be the truth. Either way, though, that bird is going to come back, because even if that bird isn't King Harrow inside of the little bird body, that little bird has seen some things, okay? And he's going to be able to tell Ez what the heck happened.
He was in the room where it happened, the room where it happened, the room where it happened. Yeah.
Yes, he was in the room where it happened. And I don't think we got enough closure from that scene, that very heated scene between Viren and Harrow. And I can't believe that that's it for Harrow. You know, like, listen, to be honest, I don't like King Harrow. I think he was being really rude and just, he just didn't treat Viren very well. And I know he was pretty stressed out, but, like, let's be real. And Harrow didn't make the best decisions, let's be real. He killed the King of the Dragons. So, but either way, I think it would be really cool, and also I like father-son stories, and I would like King Harrow to be alive inside of a tiny bird and for us to be able to talk to him. That's all, everybody. It made me so mad that at the end of season 3, that bird hadn't come back yet. Yeah. I need the bird back, everybody.
Because Viren had kept it in a cage, and finally it broke free. Kelly, I had no idea your thoughts on King Harrow, and I'm just laughing over here because it's hilarious.
It's true. I don't like King Harrow because he just, like, pushes Viren off to the side so much, and it's just like, if he was a little nicer, I don't think Viren would have been this much of an idiot either. So,
do you think that King Harrow maybe was hard on him or put him in his place, so to speak, because he knew what Viren was capable of? So even if it wasn't the right action, like, he had good intentions?
I think if he knew what Viren was capable of, he wouldn't have done that.
Indeed.
I think if he truly knew that Viren could go evil, I think he knows Viren is powerful. But if he knew Viren could go down the dark path that much, that he would have tried to help him more or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Unless he's living out of fear because, I mean, he's lost his wife to magic and, well, not to magic, but, you know, the king of the dragons and...
Because, listen, I actually kind of agree with Viren at the beginning of the series that Harrow is kind of being a prideful idiot because he's the king of this country and he's going to not only cause his sons to be orphans, but also cause them to be kings before they're ready if he just sits down and takes it. Like, I understand that he's like, this is what I have to pay for what I've done, but like I don't know, there's a bit of that in me that's like, he definitely doesn't want to switch souls with someone else. Like, I get that, like, don't do that, that's not right. But I feel like he could have at least been a little nicer to Viren because I understand Viren's point of view, and I feel like Harrow was giving up. He was just like, oh, I've made such a mess of things, I'm gonna give up now and make someone else clean up my mess. That's what it feels like to me. It's like, no, Harrow, you were the one who killed the Dragon King. You should be standing up and fighting for reconciliation and trying to do something about it. Instead, you're putting that entire burden on your sons, and they're working their little butts off to fix your problems and your mistakes. That's how I truly feel, everybody.
That's okay. I love it. It's great. It just makes me laugh because it's like, oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Yes.
So yes, I would like to know more about Harrow's final moments, if those really were his final moments, and we need to see the little birdie come back at some point. Very climactic, I'm sure it will be.
Agreed.
And thank goodness that Callum and Ez continue to fight the hard fight and reconcile the world.
Yes. I'm also excited to see Zem grow up, too.
Aww. Here's the question. Is Zem going to grow up really fast? Or is he, because he's like this kind of creature that lives for so long, is he going to stay little?
I don't know. Or is he going to stay little because his birth was not normal?
It's true. He almost died. That's a bit of a...
And prematurely hatched, so I don't know.
We'll find out.
The suspense.
Well, we do know for a fact, it's been stated in interviews, that this next season, the 4th season, will have a time jump. So the other question is, how much of a time jump is that going to be? I feel like it wouldn't be more than, like, say, 4 or 5 years.
It couldn't be more than that. Because, like, I mean, that Erebos, his caterpillar thing, was growing pretty fast. Like, it can't be too long. So, yeah, I would say no more than that for sure.
Yeah. And because I feel like, well, Ez is the youngest. You can't have him be too old. Like, you still have to have some kids characters.
Right.
Or, here's the other theory, which I don't like, but could be possible. What if they focus more on other characters entirely?
That would make me a little sad.
That would make me very, very sad. I want it to be about Rayla and Callum and Ez and Sorin. But it's possible they could introduce other kid characters and focus on them. Either that, or they only make it like a 2-year jump so that everyone is still young.
I mean, that's kind of my thought. Like, my guess was that they were going to do, like, something short, like 2 years, but enough where it's like, okay, some time has passed.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. Here's the real question. Is Callum going to now wear only sleeveless shirts?
I don't know if it's the style, but, you know, whatever works for you.
I mean, he's got to use those wings whenever needed.
Yeah, that's true. And he can't keep buying a new jacket. I mean, he is technically royalty.
He will absolutely have arm tattoos.
Oh, of course.
Of the runes, yeah.
But of course.
Of course. So, you know.
It's just so funny because he's so, like, classic nerdy, cute
Noodle
kid.
arms.
Little arms, and you're like, this is not the typical person who would get tattoos, but good for you. Like...
That's true.
Defying the stereotype. True. Good for you, Cal.
Oh, dear. Here's my other question. Oh gosh, I have so many questions. This section is going on longer than I thought, but listen. I'm suddenly opening the door to all of these theories and concerns I have. So here's my other concern about Claudia bringing Viren back to life. That had to have been some very, very, very powerful dark magic. What kind of creature or, magical power did she use to do that? Emma, do you have an answer to my question?
I don't have an answer, but my theory is that she used a human life.
But they have to be magical creatures.
Oh, that's true. Maybe like an elf life, like someone who was like on the ground dying on the battlefield or something. I just feel like it has to be something like almost taboo, because she's bringing life back. And she used a healthy young fawn to bring back Sorin's nervous system. But like, it's got to be something that's sacrificial. So I'm thinking she's used like somebody to bring him back.
Yeah, you're right. Ooh, that's dark, but that sounds about right, actually, for dark magic. Mm-hmm. Ooh, yikes. Because, you make a good point, especially comparing it to how she helped Sorin. If that was like a fawn, then she needed something even bigger. Yeah. Oh,
and
Claudia,
with each spell,
you've gone down such a road.
She's pulling an Anna. She keeps getting white hair every time she uses a spell.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, now it's like, and now she's more like Cruella.
Yes.
Goodness. Anyway, lots of questions to be answered, lots of excitement to be had. I have no news on when the next season is coming. I mean, 2020 threw us all for a loop, so I'm sure it's a little behind schedule. But who knows? I feel like Netflix kind of just announces things and releases them pretty quick. So
hopefully soon, because I don't like to wait.
It has been a wait, hasn't it?
Especially since they are doing 4 more seasons and that's like official. It's like, okay, we can't be waiting too long, right?
Granted, the first 3 seasons they did really, really crazy fast. Like, they had to work like Mad Men to get 3 seasons out that quickly. Because it was September 2018, February 2019, and November 2019. That's insane. That's insane
really fast.
work. So yeah, it's been a year and a half since the last one came out. I don't know. I wonder if they're trying to get, did they take a long break and then they're going to rush through them again? Or are they trying to make them all? I don't know. I don't know their production schedule, but I would hope that we get it pretty soon. That's all.
Can we get a person on the inside, please?
Yes, please let us know. Or if you're listening to this in the future and season 4 has already aired and you're like, what are you talking about? It's already here. And you're right about Harrow being alive!
Yes.
It's fine. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Cool. Well, some other, I don't know everything about production, but I do know a few things. And, we got to talk about the animation of this series because it is unique, to say the least.
I know you don't care for it, but I just wanted to say that I do like it. I know it's different, but for me, I like it because it feels video game-esque, and I find that fun. And I know it's not like smooth, but that kind of gives it its own quirkiness and its own uniqueness, which I like. So I know it's not flawless, but I really like it.
I appreciate that perspective because honestly, like, they have a video game in development and that's been one of their goals since the beginning. So if it looks like a video game, I think that's probably honestly hitting it right on the mark for them, because they want it to be this great big world that you can explore both in a video game as well as in a show. But yes, I for one do not care for it. There are some shows I watch because the animation is beautiful, and there are some shows I watch because I love the story and the characters. This falls into the latter category. I tolerate the animation for the story. But that is just me. Not everyone has to have that opinion. Season 1, however, is infamous for being pretty atrocious.
What? Except for when Rayla's jumping from tree to tree. I think that looks cool still.
All right. They purposely did extra work to drop the frame rate on purpose, which was part of the stylistic thing they were going for. Mm-hmm. But here's what's great about this show and this era of animation right now that we're in. They got so much fan feedback about that frame rate weirdness and how choppy it is that they fixed it for the rest of the seasons. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So honestly, props to them for props to them for trying something new. I think that's great. It didn't work out, but they tried. I think you should be able to take risks in animation and animation technology. And so kudos to them for trying something different. And also, number 2, kudos to them for listening to critique and concerns, because you were in this era of the internet where they can see all that fan feedback and they can do something to change it. And they did. And they didn't just, let people like me suffer.
To the animators, I just want to say that I thought it was a very creative choice. And though I appreciate season 2 and 3 for their quality, I will not hate on season 1. Well done for trying something new.
Good. Yes. Because I definitely want to see more risks taken, even if they don't always work out. That's what happens when you take risks. And you can't have the failures without the triumphs without the failures. So at least they try something new. And, you definitely get used to it as you watch it. It still is a bit hard for me. It still even now feels pretty clunky. And I wonder, too, if maybe they'll change anything in the future for that as well. But honestly, thinking about it more as, especially how you described it, as it feels like a video game, it honestly makes more sense now, because truly they want it to be a video game. They're doing all this other stuff with it. Like, they created this entire production company, Wonderstorm, to create Dragon Prince and the video game for it. They've been working on the video game basically since the very beginning. And so actually that makes a lot of sense if that's what they're trying to do, because then you're going to be able to feel like you really are in the world of the Dragon Prince, because that's what the Dragon Prince looks like on the show. And that's what it'll probably look like on the video game. Unless I'm wrong and for some reason the video game looks completely different, and then there's absolutely no point for them to be doing this to us in the show.
Well, that was fun.
Either way, it's still a great show, and I hope that people don't judge it just based off of season 1 animation. Listen, we animation fans sit through a lot of bad animation. This is not the worst animation I've seen.
Agreed.
And if I can sit through some really atrocious stuff, especially when it comes to anime, bad CGI, I'm going to take this with a lot of gratitude. So ultimately, thank you to the Dragon Prince team for making this beautiful series. That's all.
Yes. I mean, have you seen the old Fruits Basket?
Yes. I don't want to. Basically, I'm trying not to dunk on it too hard. Yes. It's still great. And the other thing I wanted to say is that this show has been described as Game of Thrones for kids, was kind of what their goal was. So they're taking a lot of inspiration from things like Game of Thrones and other fantasy sci-fi type stories, and really making something that's family friendly but still has that epic feel. I think they succeed 100% at doing that. But because of that, like they've clearly got a lot of nerds in their writing room, a lot of nerds in their animation studio. So this show is littered with fantasy sci-fi references of all sorts, and Emma has done the wonderful job of picking out some of the best ones. And so we're going to go through some of them. And you know what, as I'm thinking, because I did not research this and I've picked up a few for myself, are these all things that, like, because you definitely are a huge fantasy fan, you are all about Lord of the Rings and everything. Mm-hmm. Were you able to recognize a lot of them as you watched for the first time?
I didn't pick up on all of them, but I picked up on most of them because I'm a nerd. It is really wonderful to have a fantasy series done well, because a fantasy series, if it's not written well, it's just cheesy and weird. And so I really appreciate how this storyline stays true to fantasy tropes and whatnot, but still explores different ideas. And the fact that they littered all these little nerd things in there just makes it feel closer to home. So I was just like, man, all the writers in this room, they're a bunch of nerds and I love it. So the classic one is, we've all seen the meme where Boromir is holding up his hand in a circle and says, "One does not simply walk into Mordor." And in this case, we have a moment between Rayla and Callum says, "One does not simply walk into Zadia." And Rayla, of course, rebuttals it with, "Actually, one does simply walk into Zadia." So that was one of my favorites and the one that I picked up right away. The one that I didn't pick up right away, mainly because I didn't have familiarity with this, but I do now, was there were a couple... two, I believe, Sailor Moon references. So,
yes.
Callum's just like, "Tell me about the moon arcane, Rayla. Like, you're born with it. Like, how do you go moon shadow powers?" And she's just like, "Well, I just sort of stand in the light of the moon, and there's like describing this crazy stuff." And then she's like, "And then there's this cha-ching," and then like she's like does the sign for Sailor Moon, and so that was one that I didn't get right away, but I knew, like, when I saw it, I was like, wait. This is something. This is something. I didn't know what it was at the point, but I was like, I'm looking this up. So there's that, and then Lou Jane does a like transformation thing too that I figured was also related to that.
It absolutely is.
Yes.
Very magical transformation. Sailor Moon transformation is hilarious.
I will travel in disguise. Yeah. Then we also have one that we already mentioned when we had Callum looking at Nyx's staff. He was like, "This looks so familiar. Boomerang?" Because the voice actor was Sokka in Avatar, who had a boomerang. Okay, when he said that, I died on the couch. I laughed so hard because I was like, this is too perfect. Literally, like, so good. Yes. Lastly, there is a moment where Ezran holds up bait. I believe it's for the end of season 1 when they're fighting the leech and they have their, flash, bark, zap, slish slash plan. And he lifts him up and he says, "Say hello to my little friend." So those are just a couple of the references that I picked up on, and it was just so fun to be like, oh, I feel like these writers know exactly what their audience wants.
Yes. It's so fun and so great. And what's fun is that, like, yeah, you can clearly see that the Dragon Prince is, like, inspired by so many of these really classic fantasy stories. But it's also just something really new and unique. And it's fun that they're having fun with it, but still paying homage to all of the great fantasy epics that came before it.
Exactly.
And time will tell if this also becomes in our libraries a fantasy epic.
Yes.
So if you made it through this far,
good job.
I'm glad you're as big a Dragon Prince fan as we are. And I'm just really excited to see what happens with the series going forward.
I can't wait for it to come back. I just miss these characters so much. And the humor.
Oh, no. Oh, that's so good. And we'll definitely have to do more episodes in the future as we continue this journey through Zadia.
Oh, yes. I can't wait.
Well, as always, the music is provided by Purple Planet Music. The art is done by myself. We're on Instagram and Facebook at Fanimated Podcast. You can email us at fanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. Leave a review. Tell us what we should be watching next and reviewing. Go to patreon.com/fanimated. You can join for $1 a month, just one little dollar, and you can listen to a whole bunch of bonus episodes and just see some behind the scenes stuff, and also vote for upcoming episode topics. That's always a lot of fun, and you will get a say in what we discuss. We will be back in 2 weeks. We're on our summer schedule, which means bi-weekly episodes. So we'll be back to weekly episodes in September. But for now, we will see you in 2 weeks. Emma, thanks again for joining me. It's always a blast talking to you about our favorite animated media.
Yes, of course. I'm so happy we got to talk about the Dragon Prince finally.
Finally, it's been on our list forever, and now we're here. And there will be more Dragon Prince to come. So in the meantime, stay tuned.
And stay animated.
I feel like there was a joke in there maybe about how he sounds or something. Or maybe I'm thinking of another show that does that kind of fourth wall joke.
I mean, we did have that Voltron moment, remember? Between...
It was Voltron. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking
Yep.
because what's-his-face voices
Lance.
the weird aliens, and then he's like, they sound weird. I can't understand what they're saying.
Right.
When it's like, it's your voice, dude.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Yep.
Oh, gosh.